Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Looks like we've got a good number of people. Welcome everybody to this informational session, this informational webinar for the Master of Science in Data Science offered by the University of Colorado Boulder on Coursera's platform. We're really excited to be here today with you. We're excited to tell you about the program, introduce you to it, tell you more about what we think is just a really incredible program, an interdisciplinary data science program that teaches core concepts, fundamentals, but then also allows you to apply those skills in domain areas, real world domain areas. Couple of things before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. If you have questions, please enter those in the Q&A section in your window rather than in the chat, and we'll get to those in just a little bit. First, though, I want to introduce our main speakers. First, we have Dr. Jane Wall. She's our faculty director of the data science program at CU Boulder. And we have Bobby Schnabel, who has many titles. Lately, he's been serving as a co-director for our program. He's also the external chair of computer science at the University of Colorado Boulder. And then my name is Randall Folington. I'm the director of program development at CU Boulder and helping to implement this program on Coursera's platform. So I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Jane Wall and have her take over. Thank you, Jane.
Thanks. Welcome, everybody. We're really excited to have you joining us today and to share a little bit of information about this new master's degree program that we're offering. And we will, in terms of today, we will give you an overview of the program, and then we'll go through some answers to some top questions that we think you might have. And then we'll follow that with a Q&A. So what we'll do, like Randall was saying, put your questions in the Q&A, and then my associate Jennifer Bond and Jenny Lane, they both will help us put those together and then give us the questions toward the end for Bobby and Randall and me to answer. I'm hearing somebody saying my audio is not very good. Shall I try it without the earbuds? Let's see. Let me see if that's audio is fine. Okay. Okay, let's just get started then on next slide, Randall. Okay, so let's just talk for a minute about the features of this master's degree. First off, there are 30 credits. So on Coursera, that means each course is a 1 hour credit. Okay, so if you were in the university on campus in the residential program, that would be 10 courses. So on the university campus, those tend to be 3 credit courses. But what we've done is each credit, then if you did 3 credits, that tends to be what would be in a normal university course, just so you have some feel for pacing yourself through the course. Now, this is a performance-based admissions program, which means you don't have to submit a GRE, you don't have to submit any undergraduate transcripts or show background or anything like that. You just go through we call a track, a pathway course, which is 3 courses in one of the areas with a B grade or better, and then you can be admitted to the program. So this is a self-paced program. So each course, you pace it yourself, and you can enter at lots of different places. So as well, you can do for credit and not for credit. So you can go from a not for credit basis to a for credit basis. So next slide, Randall. So the program as an overall gives you the foundational competency in the technical areas of data science. So you will cover data mining, machine learning, data structures. You will cover statistics and regression. And then you will also do some application area courses. So these are the electives that you will do to get your applied technical skills. This program is based around what we call platform-driven mastery learning, which means you can make multiple attempts to learn some material, but you don't progress until you've learned the material that you're supposed to have gotten to that point. So if it takes you 1 try, that's great. If it takes you 5 tries to get the material, that's okay too. So you do it at your own pace and you master one set of material before you go on. There's also different kinds of credentials. Some people want to do a non-credit basis and just take the course to learn a particular area, and others want to do it for credit to get the actual master's degree. When you get your master's degree, there will be the same degree that the on-campus students would get when they come to stay at University of Colorado and take the courses on campus. So you can preview courses as a non-credit student. So you could sign up for a course as a non-credit student. As a matter of fact, some of these courses, you can go ahead and do that right now. And you can start it that way. And then when you're ready to take it for credit, then you make your tuition payment, and then you get access to the final exam and some other assessments and some other things like the student facilitator, the course facilitators and things like that you might not have access to when you're taking it as a not-for-credit student. But then that would give you a grade in the course that then goes onto your transcript at University of Colorado. So you can start not for credit and then upgrade whenever you want, whenever you feel ready. So each 1 hour course is designed to take between 4 and 6 weeks to complete. Okay, so there's typically 4 to 6 modules in it, and each module would be a week. So it's streamlined, you can automatically enroll and register. This way you can pay per credit as you get ready to take that course for credit. So you can do a mix and match if you want, taking some not for credit until you're comfortable with the material and then go for credit. Or you could just start out right away say, I want to do the master's degree. I know I'm going to do it for credit, and I'm going to just sign up for my courses that way. But you do it credit by credit. As you enroll in the course, you pay for it. So you don't pay this huge tuition bill up front. You pay it as you go. So what are the required courses? Okay, so there are this data science as a field, ethical issues, and cybersecurity. Those are our general core courses that everyone takes, and we suggest you take that right after admission to the program, unless you want to take it as a non-for-credit basis earlier. The 2 pathway courses that get you admission to the program are highlighted in green. So there's a data structures and algorithms. Now that's 3 courses, okay? So it is 1 specialization. It's 3 courses that compose that. So it's 3 credits that make up that data structures and algorithms. So you would take those 3 courses. If your background, say, is better in computer science, we suggest you start there. Statistical inference for data science is another 3 credit specialization. It's a pathway. So if your background is more statistical, you might want to start with that. When you complete either of those pathways with a B or better, you are admitted into the program, okay? And then these are all the courses you'll be required to take. So there's all these cores, and then there will be a range of application courses, upper division statistics, computer science, things like statistical learning, robotics, high performance computing, maybe some computational neuroscience, or some other specialized topics that you can take for your electives. And those will be 9 credits of electives that you take for that. So, common questions. The pathway specializations that we've already talked about, there are 3 1-credit courses, either statistics or computer science, and you finish that with a B average, and then you're admitted to the program. The program cost is $667 per credit hour when you're taking it on the 4-credit basis. If you do the not for credit, your cost will be somewhere between $49 and $79 a month to take that. And then if you decide you want to switch into the credit basis, then you would pay the $667 for the tuition for that course and get credit for it, okay? So if you multiply it all out, right, multiply that by 30 and you get $20,010 if you did the entire 30 hours for the degree. So you cannot transfer credits into this program at this point. Courses are self-paced. However, little caveat on that, you have to turn in all the work for that course before the end of that session. So it's sort of like mini semesters. Each semester, each term is 8 weeks. and you have to turn in the work before the completion of that term, okay? So you can sign up anytime from 2 weeks before the start of the session until 2 weeks before the end of it. So that way you can sign up for it on a for credit basis anytime in that window, but you have to get all the work turned in before that session is done. So keep that in mind as you're planning out what you're going to register for when. It is a fully accredited program. It is not eligible for U.S. federal financial aid. And we will have course facilitators for each of the courses, and they will hold regular office hours and times when you can connect with them and ask questions. We also encourage you to work with your colleagues who are taking these courses with you. Go to the discussion boards and get to know some of your colleagues, because networking is going to be really important to you in your data science career, and teamwork. So this is a good way to get started with that. If you're stuck somewhere, there's probably somebody else on the discussion board, either who's stuck there, you guys can noodle it out together, or somebody else that's figured it out that doesn't mind giving you a helping hand. So you don't have to wait for office hours for all of those things. So when can you do this? Well, you can start right now with the non-credit versions of some of the courses, and enrollment will open on April 14th for you to actually register for the courses, and the courses go live on May the 3rd. We suggest that in your first session, you might limit yourself to no more than 3 one-credit courses that you're going to register for to start with until you get your sea legs and figure out, exactly how much time is going to be involved, because these are regular master's degree courses. The only difference is it's done through Coursera and it's self-paced, okay? And I think that's the end of our overall presentation, and we will open it up now to questions that you may have had. So if Jennifer and Jenny can ask some of those questions for us.
Sure, we have a lot of questions, so I'm just kind of going to read them in the order that they're coming in. I guess we can start with whether there's a time limit to complete all of the credits. Can the entire program be stretched out over more than 2 years, for example?
Bobby, do you know if there's a time limit? I don't think there is.
No, there is not. So yeah, you can, one good thing about the Coursera courses, you can do that in the timing you want. Randall, is there any limitation to that?
For the non-credit, you have as long as you want to take that course. For the for-credit version, once you complete a course and earn credit for it, that credit is good for 8 years to apply to the degree.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great.
Good question.
Yeah. Another one is about how many entry points there are each year, how many times they can start taking classes each year.
There are, I believe, 6 sessions each year. Is that right?
8 sessions.
6 8-week sessions.
Thank you. Yep.
Right? Because that makes 48 weeks, and we had some time in there for breaks, right? So there are 6 sessions per year. So you can get into the session, pretty much you can get into a session almost any time starting April 19th. But what happens is you register for the upcoming session up to 2 weeks prior to that session start. And then you have to, and you can't register for that session the last 2 weeks. So there's sort of a moving window, right? So what you're going to register for next is for the next session, but you don't want to do it 2 weeks before the end within that last 2 weeks, because you've got to get all your work in before the session's done. Okay, does that make sense?
And just to clarify one thing that is different on an online Coursera program than a normal residential program, any course that is available in any session. So.
Thank you. We're also seeing a lot of questions about prerequisites, not just for the entry to the degree itself, but also for individual courses and what that might look like in the order of courses that students have to follow.
So I don't think there's no formal prerequisites for any of the courses. However, we suggest you have some knowledge of basic calculus and basic linear algebra before you start the coursework. So that might be helpful to go brush up on those if you haven't had those in a while. If you've never seen them, you might want to go take a course in that before you start the program, because some of the courses will expect you to have, know what an integral is, know what a matrix multiplication looks like, know what a matrix transpose is, and an inverse. So you will need those skills throughout the program.
And Jennifer, let me jump into one that came up very closely related to that. There were a number of questions about degrees being required. And no, this is the performance-based admission simply means that you get into this through completing one of those 2 pathway specializations. There is nothing else that get looked at coming in. Randall, did I miss anything on that?
You have that right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Great. There's another question here. Sorry, they're moving as I ask. Is whether the final graduation certificate will be similar to that one provided on campus. I know you touched on this a bit, but there are questions asking if this is going to be mentioned specifically that it was taken online. Can they then go on to use this degree to pursue a PhD, for example? So a little bit more clarification on that piece.
It's the same degree, the same piece of paper that the students in the residential program get, and you may use it in the same ways. So you can use it for entry to a PhD or for your job or whatever. Your degree will say Masters of Science in Data Science from the University of Colorado, period.
Excellent. There's another one asking about the maximum number of courses that students are allowed to take per term.
There is no maximum other than what is actually out there and available and published. But we recommend that you start with a level that you feel comfortable handling, and that might be 3 courses, but if it could be more. If you want to take 10, it's self-paced. Do what you feel comfortable doing.
I see there's a question about which non-credit courses are available right now. If we start with non-credit, can we convert those to for credit? Are there additional tests to take? Again, just a little bit clarifying that piece again.
So my understanding is that all your work, all your progress transfers over when you become a for credit student. So if you've done it on a non-credit basis, then when the enrollment opens up to enroll in the course for credit, you can convert that and all your progress flows forward, but you still have some additional things to complete for the for credit version. So there might be a final exam or a final project or a couple of other assessments along the way that were not part of the non-credit. Did I get all of that?
Yes, you got that exactly right. So your non-credit work will link to your for credit work, and it will transfer over when you enter the for credit instance of the course.
Randall, you might be the best person to comment on which non-credit courses are available now and very soon.
Yeah, so currently right now we have Introduction to High Performance Computing, which is an elective course in the data science program. It is offered as a non-credit program right now. We also have Managing, Describing, and Analyzing Data. This is part of a specialization that we're building out, but it's also one course at the moment that's available, and that will also have a for credit option in May. So you can start that work now if you'd like. We should also have a few more individual courses popping up on the platform in the next couple of months. I would say about probably three courses that will be available before the actual term opens. And then once that term opens, all of our for credit classes will have a non-credit version published on the platform as well.
I've seen a lot of questions come by about international students. So it just popped up on my screen as they were coming by. So let me just say, there is no visa requirement because you take these wherever you are, right? So you don't have to be residing in the US. So you can take those from wherever you are. There's no special admissions. There's no special difference in tuition or anything like that.
And let me add one thing to that. I saw questions about tuition differences. Jane just commented on that. For the online program, the tuition, as Jane just said, is the same wherever you are. I should admit that there also is a residential version of this program starting in the fall. And so for somebody who's a Colorado resident, because there were questions about that, you would get a different tuition rate if you decided to apply for the residential program. It's roughly the same program, a different style of delivery, but the same curriculum.
Right, and that actually answered the next question about what year we began offering the on-campus version. And the next question is there an ability to be inactive? For example, can I skip one of those 8-week terms and then continue after that? Because, for example, that's a really busy time.
Sure. Yeah, self-paced. Take them when you want to.
And then,
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to just to emphasize what we said earlier. You can absolutely take time off. Any courses that are completed successfully for credit last for 8 years. They're you can attribute them to the degree for 8 years. So you can take time off in between as necessary.
And I'm going to add a little more to that. This is, of course, an advantage of any online program, is that you can do it at the pace that works for you. Jane has talked about doing 3 courses at a time, and if you're trying to do this as a full-time student, you might do that. But there's also many people who have full-time jobs and are doing this at the same time. And in that case, you might do 1 course at a time, and maybe not even every time. And as Randall just said, you have a period of up to 8 years to complete things.
Great. There's quite a few questions we're getting clarification about. Even though this is a master's program, people don't need a bachelor's before they enter, or do they? Performance-based admissions, we know, is a little bit confusing.
Maybe I'll jump into that. You don't, but I suspect that the big majority of people who take this will have an undergraduate degree, and there's a level of sophistication and understanding how to do college courses and just your background overall that is useful there. Randall, you have the most experience with another one of our programs, so you might want to comment on what we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think I would add to that this is a graduate program. This is graduate level coursework. And we expect you to be able to perform at a graduate level. That said, you don't have to have an undergraduate degree to enter. As long as you can prove that you can do the work successfully, you can progress through the program. But the important thing here is that this is a graduate degree. And so if you're concerned about that, if you feel like you're maybe not ready, we encourage you to take the non-credit versions. It's the same curriculum until you get to the 4-credit content, which is always an add-on content. And see how you do in the non-credit. If you feel like you can perform, then you can upgrade to the 4-credit version. But really, the things to take away here are, this is a graduate degree. It's graduate level curriculum. It is rigorous. But you can, the difference from other graduate programs is you can prove that you can do the work to be in it rather than applying officially.
Great. And I have I think this is kind of a related question, which is maybe good for Bobby. There's a participant who's also interested in the BS in computer science degree that we already have in the undergrad space at CU Boulder. And so they're just wondering how much overlap is there? Are the courses completely separate? How would you kind of compare and contrast those courses?
If that's a fairly specialized question, I'll answer it briefly and also suggest that person can reach out to me by email for a more detailed answer. If you're referring to our online post-baccalaureate program, it's a very different program that's covering a deep coverage of computer science degree. There is some overlap with a few of the courses. So probably 3 or 4 of the courses would overlap in title and probably in content, but I'll be happy to answer that more separately.
Great, thank you. Once students are accepted to the program, to the degree, is there any mandatory GPA that they have to maintain throughout the program?
Yes, you do need to maintain a 3.0 GPA throughout the program.
Great, that was simple. Okay, yep. Can we explain taking the non-credit and then upgrading to the 4-credit? So for example, is once you switch to 4-credit, is it still on Coursera? Kind of clarifying that a little.
Yeah, everything is still on Coursera. All your progress transfers over. So if you've taken a bunch of quizzes and done a bunch of, say, coding assignments or whatever that have been graded, all those grades transfer over. It's still going to be on Coursera, and it's just some add-on content that you'll have to complete to get your credit.
And then,
yeah, go ahead. I'm going to jump in real fast, Jennifer. That's exactly right from the learner perspective and experience. Just from an administrative side, if you're in the non-credit version and you want to upgrade to the 4-credit experience, what's going to happen is you're going to click the button or whatever it might be. You're going to move over to CU Boulder's website. That'll give you a chance to add in your information and to pay. And once you do that, then you are sent back to Coursera's platform into the 4-credit version of the course. So all of the learning will stay on Coursera's platform, but there is some movement back and forth between Coursera and CU Boulder in order to enroll in the courses.
And then if they start on Coursera and take courses through Coursera, can they transfer to the in-person degree, or is that they have to make the decision kind of when they start?
Yeah, that we're not allowing transfer back and forth to the in-person degree.
There is a question about whether courses can transfer in so they can start, with some courses under their belt toward the degree.
We don't have courses transferring in. You just complete those courses. Probably, if you already have the knowledge, you can complete them more quickly and have up your GPA, right?
Yeah.
This next one I can actually answer, so I'm just going to ask and then jump in. So the question is, how do I find the non-credit courses? And for right now, I can tell you, if you just go to our course homepage on Coursera or on the website, you can find them right there. They're linked right there and called out. If you look at the little part that says "Try a course now," you can see them there. And we will update that as more courses become available. The next question, can we attend career fairs and other networking events on campus?
Yes. In fact, the campus has a very robust set of career fairs, both ones that are for all areas, ones that are for STEM, and then we also have ones that are specifically for computing-oriented disciplines. In fact, we have one coming up next week, and we will make sure that those are available. It works particularly well now when those career fairs are online totally, and we'll have to think about how that works when they go back to being in person.
Great. Another question about cost and the pathway courses. Do they have a cost or are they free? And I think it's two separate questions, one for the non-credit option and then also for the 4-credit option.
Yes, so if you're doing the pathway course to get admitted to the program, you are still paying for credit because you want to get the B in the course, in all 3 courses, to proceed and be officially admitted to the degree. Okay, if you do the non-credit version, then you're paying the Coursera monthly rate to do the non-credit version, but that does not get you admitted to the degree. So you could start at the non-credit, paying the monthly fee, but then you would need to pay the tuition and do the extra components to make it a 4-credit course to actually complete the pathway specialization to be admitted to the degree.
And just in case anybody's unclear about this, those pathway courses are part of your 30 credits for the degree.
Great. When students change from the non-credit to the 4-credit option, how do those exams look? How are they administered?
Well, that changes course to course. So each faculty person designs their own course. So some of those final exams will be programming-based exams hosted on Coursera's platform. Some are going to be project-based exams. Some will be other work that you've been, say, working on in the non-credit version of the course, and you compile it together and then submit it for peer review and as part of the final project. So it really is unique to the individual course.
Great. Aside from the tuition and or Coursera fees, are there any required textbooks or other fees that students should be aware of? And if so, is there an estimated cost?
So currently there are not in any of the courses. So your reading should be included in the course or have access to those readings in the course. So there are no additional fees at this moment.
Great. Is there a minimum number of courses that students need to take if they're taking classes? So for example, could they just take 1 class per semester or per 8-week term?
Certainly, you can take however many you want per term or none. You can take a term off if you need.
Great. Can students on the Coursera degree use campus facilities like the libraries, the gym, tutoring, are they paying student fees to cover the access to the services?
My understanding is they're not paying student fees and activity fees, so you wouldn't have access to those things. I believe you might be able to get a gym membership or something like that as a, but I don't know.
So that's right, Jane. The students are not paying fees for access to things like the rec center or other places. You do have access, remote access to the library, and then we do actually invite you to come to commencement ceremony when we do hold one on campus again, which hopefully will in the near future, but we're not quite sure yet when.
Great. Is the number of admitted students capped at any time in either the Coursera degree or the in-person program?
The in-person program will have a cap on it based on our ability to staff those with instructors in classrooms and classroom space. That cap will change from semester to semester, but however, the Coursera version, there is no cap on those courses.
Are all of the lectures pre-recorded, or are some, for example, live where someone would have to be there at a particular time?
They're all pre-recorded. You do it at your own time when it's convenient for you.
What if we fail one of the courses, whether that's a pathway course or once you're in the degree, do you get a chance to retake that course if you didn't do so well the first time around?
Yeah, so if you're not an admitted student, if say you're taking the first course in the pathway specialization, you can certainly retake that course if you fail it the first time. However, when you're taking it as a 4-credit student, all the attempts will count towards your GPA for that course. So what I would recommend in that case is go back to the non-credit version and complete it to see if you can do the work. Once you're a degree student later on, you've been admitted to the program. And you're taking a course and you fail it, as a degree student, you can do a one-time grade replacement and retake the course and have that failing grade exchanged with the new grade or replaced by the new grade.
Great. Is this degree good for only people who have a background in computer science and statistics, or is it designed in a way that people with any background and interest in computer science, for example, can follow it with easily and not too much work to kind of catch up?
I would say any background, but you do need some programming knowledge before you start. So you need to be familiar with Python and R, as well as some basic calculus and linear algebra. But if you are, I'll give myself as an example. As an undergraduate, my degree was classical languages and political science. But as part of that, I'd had a bunch of math, so I went into a PhD program in math. Okay, so you need some background, and even if you're a political science major or an English major or music major, it doesn't matter as long as you've had some basic programming skills, which you can pick up online. You don't have to have had a formal, university version of that. As long as you have that knowledge, then you can start the degree on Coursera. And that's one of the
jump in
program.
because I think that's a very important question. I agree totally with what Jane said, of course. I don't know how many people who are on out of our about 500 participants are in that situation, but that's one of the reasons we started this degree, is so that people could move into this broad field of data science, regardless of whether they come from something like computer science or applied math or not. And many people are becoming data scientists who come from other backgrounds. And that's also why we have the pathway courses, so that you can work your way into it and make sure it's a fit for you.
Great. Do students need a Coursera subscription in order to take this program's courses, either not for credit or for credit, and kind of how does that work with the subscription?
Yes, you do need to subscribe to Coursera. So you will need a Coursera, you need to register with an email address to Coursera in order to take the non-credit for sure, which would then allow you to upgrade to the 4-credit. But even if you come in from the 4-credit side, you would still need some kind of registration with Coursera.
Great. Can they take classes through Coursera Plus, if you're familiar with that?
You can take non-credit versions through Coursera Plus, yes.
Great. How easy is it to reach professors or TAs during the program, or is there maybe a forum discussion or online calls, office hours, those kinds of opportunities?
Most
Great
classes,
question.
I think, will have a discussion board, but there also will be set office hours that the course facilitators will hold for you to come and ask questions. Randall, is that correct?
I'll just expound on that a little bit. So courses are created by professors. So as an example, I've created a course and Jane is creating a course. And those people are engaged through the course facilitators. A course facilitator is a person, very often an advanced graduate student, who is the main liaison between all of the students taking the class and that course. But then the other huge resource is your fellow students. And so all courses will have means for students to communicate with other students. And the world's experience with online education shows that that turns out to be the most valuable way for people to get help when they take online courses, whether it's from CU Boulder or from anywhere.
Not only that, but I tell my students all the time, the best way to learn anything is to teach it. So help your fellow students and explain to them the things that you know, because then you will learn it even better.
Yeah, so I would just add, that's all exactly right. I would add that there's an additional networking opportunity and support opportunity through Slack channels. Courses will have Slack channels attached to them where you can work with other students and support each other.
Great. I think we're seeing quite a few clarification questions about the skills that they need to enter with, particularly Python and R. Does that need to be, would you call it an intermediate level, or could they kind of, start with an advanced level? What is kind of recommended? Are there any recommended resources that we have for students to find those skills if they don't have them currently, to kind of prepare to get started in the degree?
Yeah, so I'll answer that backwards. So the last question that was asked there, we recommend right now, there are a couple of courses available in Python and R on Coursera. We recommend you just do a search on Coursera and enter those courses or specializations. And we would say, and Bobby, maybe I'll lean on you and Jane here a little bit, about an intermediate to understanding of R and Python.
Great.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. I'm seeing a lot of questions about that. We're not going to have our own courses to get you started in these languages because there's so many of them that exist already. But there will be some reinforcement. In fact, the first pathway in computer science, which is the data structures and algorithms, will reinforce that knowledge. And there are a lot of questions about, I saw one in the chat, for instance, somebody saying, I was a journalism major. Will this computer science be too intense for me? I think the only way to know is going to be to try. Everybody is that individual. And that's the beauty of being able to try a non-credit course at a very minor monetary investment and see whether it's the right level that you can master or not.
Great. Really quick question about whether students will get an email, a CU Boulder email. And I believe, Randall, correct me if I'm wrong, that once you take a 4-credit course, then yes, that's the case. But when they're in the non-credit space, that won't apply. Is that correct?
Yeah, are we asking about an email address? A Colorado email address? Okay, great.
Yes,
yeah,
sorry.
As soon as you enroll in the 4-credit version, you're given identity and an email address with CU Boulder. The identity will let you pay tuition and access your enrollment forms. So, but you will have a CU Boulder email address.
Great. And then I'll just throw out a reminder that there will be a recording shared later. We are going to send that out in email to everyone, just in case you missed any portion of this or had to leave early. Next question, will the non-credit exercises and quizzes be evaluated or graded?
Yes, they will. And those grades will count toward your grade if you switch it to a 4-credit version.
Great. Is there a group work component to any of the courses?
There certainly may be. That is really dependent on the faculty and how they design their individual courses.
Let's see. Are any what particular programming languages are going to be used? Is there anything outside of Python and R? Yeah, just a little bit more about the program.
It depends on the course, but I believe in some of the electives, they use MATLAB. In a couple of the electives, maybe. So I know I saw one or two of them that had something like that, but it'd be up to the professor. But pretty much all the core material, I believe, is Python and R.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Great. I'm seeing a terminology question here. We keep saying 1 hour credit, 1 hour credit. Can you define what that means and what students can, like how much time they could expect to spend on a 1 credit or 1 hour credit course?
Well,
sure. Sorry, Jane,
Randall.
please go ahead.
I was going to say each course is 1 college credit, right? So if you think about a 3 credit course that you'd be taking on campus, right? I generally tell my students that would be 3 hours a week for a 3 credit course for 15 weeks, right? So you got to do a little math here, right? To figure out that for a 1 credit course would be about a third of that. So it would be an hour a week for 15 weeks, but your prep time would be another 2 to 3 hours per week for that time. So I would say it would be like if you take a 1 credit at a time and you're doing it over 5 weeks, that's like taking a 3 credit course at university for 15 weeks, right? So I would say, you should try it out, but I would expect for that, if you do it for 5 weeks, I would expect to spend 2 or 3 hours outside of the time you're actually doing the module work, actually listening to the videos on the course prep. That's what I would assume going in.
Let me jump into that as well, because I think this is a particularly important question, so it's probably worth answering twice. A 1 credit course, as has been explained, you have 8 weeks to complete it, but it's more the equivalent of what would happen at a university over a period of 5 weeks. And in each one of those weeks, if you were going to a normal, an on-campus course, there would be close to 3 hours of class time. The amount of video that you will have is usually going to be less than that because it's more intense. So there might be, I'm just giving an estimate, say an hour and a half or so of video in a week, but that will vary quite a bit. And then as Jane just said, you will have work to do in addition to that, which might make, to do an estimate, maybe you'll be spending 5+ hours a week on that course each week. Randall, you have the most experience. There's great variance, but you might want to comment as well.
Yeah, I don't think actually, I think that summarizes it. I don't have much more to add. What we've done here is we've really encouraged faculty to teach to their styles, right? And to include the amount of content and rigor of the content as they would teach in their on-campus course. So some courses may be 4 weeks, some may be 6. Some, I guess, have the options of being 3 as well. But that doesn't mean that the length of time is directly correlated to the difficulty of the course either. So it really just depends on that individual course. It's graduate level. The reason why we say 3 credits per term is that's about the same schedule you would do if you were a full-time student. I would say calibrate your experience that way. How much time can you actually devote to a 4 credit course? That is a graduate level course. Some are going to take a little more work than others, depending on your strengths. So it'd really be up to you to see how well and how quickly you can move through those courses.
Yeah, I was going to say it really depends on your preparation for a given course, right? If you've had some of the material before, that might be a course you breeze through without spending a lot of time outside of class. But if this one is a stretch for you, it can take you a lot longer. So that's also the advantage of being able to do it as a not for credit and then switch it over. So you could try it out for a little bit, see how the pacing is going to go, and see if you want to sign up for it for credit for that particular term.
Great. There's a couple questions about the required courses, that slide, and like the learner pathways and kind of what that might look like. I don't know if we can revisit that, which courses are required and which ones, which.
There we go. Yeah, so if you want to start with the pathway, you'll either start with data structures and algorithms or statistical inference for data science. Once you have completed that, I would suggest you go do the general courses, the data science as a field, the ethics, and cybersecurity, and then continue on through the courses. You might want to, at that point, if you've done the statistical inference, you might want to go on to statistical modeling, or you may want to switch over and do the other data structures and algorithm. In either case, you have to take both sets of courses, right? So if you start with statistics, you still have to do data structures. You start with data structures, you still have to do statistics. So it's up to you, though, as to which order you want to take these in, okay? And you don't have to do, say, all three courses in one of these specializations at one time. You can do, say, one course from data mining and one course from statistical modeling during a given term, if that's your preference.
And we have, for those who want a little more guidance through the program, we certainly anticipate there will be those folks who have a really strong sense of how they want to move through it. We do provide some graduate advising. So as soon as you do enter into a 4-credit course, you will have access to our graduate advisor. But we also have on our website, and maybe we can put that in the chat if people don't know about it already, we have some recommended learner journeys of what most people probably will do to work their way through the program.
And since we're going to be advising people separately, I won't do much of it here, but on the computer science side where there's more, we certainly would suggest that people do data structures and algorithms first because it's the pathway for admissions. We generally suggest that people do data mining next because it both follows as far as the material, but also as far as the path through data science, where that's the first part of data science is getting in the data before you analyze the data. And then after that, it would be your choice. And I suspect a lot of students will want to do machine learning fairly early on because it's so interesting and it leads to many other things. But we'll be there to advise you on all of that.
Great. And I just want to say, I know that some people are still waiting for their questions to be answered. There are so many questions, we're probably not going to get to them all. So we're trying to get the questions that are being asked the most. But please, if you feel like your question isn't answered, know that we will have more of these sessions. There's another one coming up at the end of February. There's also a lot of these FAQ are on our website. But please know that this isn't your only chance to get information, and you are welcome to reach out if you do still have questions and after the next 10 minutes or so.
And Jennifer, to add to that, I'm going to commit something that probably falls on you. I'm sure that we'll take a look at all these questions. We're getting close to 400 of them, and select the ones that are most common. And if they're not already answered on our FAQ page, we're going to try to do that.
Yeah, exactly. With that said, let's just jump right into the next question. Can I still take non-credit courses even after I'm admitted into the degree program and then convert them still to credit at the tail end of the course?
Absolutely. And if there's a course that you feel is going to be particularly challenging, or you're not sure you can get it done in 8 weeks, I would suggest you do that you start it as a non-credit and see how the material is going and then switch it over. When you're comfortable, you can get it done before, because if you can't finish it by the end of the term, you'll wind up with a W and you have to start the course in the next term. So.
Great. Is there, again, for performance-based admissions, is there any kind of English language test for non-native English speakers, like IELTS or TOEFL?
Nope.
Not for the Coursera version of our degree. As long as you can understand the lectures and the readings and the work, then you'll be fine.
And one thing, and Randall, I'll check with you on this. I believe all Coursera courses are captioned. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. And by the way, that turns out to be a very useful thing, regardless of whether your native language is English or not.
It is captioned. It's also transcripted too. I believe it's transcripted in English, but that gives you access to that transcript after you've watched the video.
A few follow-up questions to the GPA question and whether or not you have, like, if you fail a course, is the one-time grade replacement once per course or once overall? And then how does that work? Does it like, what do I want to say? Does it merge the grades together, or does the new grade replace the old grade?
So grade replacement, it replaces the old grade. That would happen once you're a degree student. If you are combining GPA, say you're working on your pathway specialization, you have not yet entered the program, it would average out your scores, right? So if you had a 2.0 the first time and then a 3.0 the second time, you would need to take it again at the higher score to get it up to that 3.0. But we are going to be publishing a student handbook that you'll be able to see that will delineate all of these policies for your reference, which might be a little easier to understand there.
Great. Do the courses have peer review and marking, or is everything marked by faculty, or is it a combination? And is it different when it's the non-credit versus the 4-credit course?
Yeah, so non-credit courses are usually auto-graded with peer reviews also included. 4-credit courses tend to be auto-graded. And then it really depends on the course and on the faculty person of what kind of activities they're including. So some of them have only peer review, some of them have auto-graded programming assignments, some of them may have group projects.
And as an example, I'll mention my own course. I'm just completing a course on ethical issues in data science, which is a course where people more read and write things than do programming or mathematical things. And there, a very important part of the learning experience is the peer review, because you actually get to read what your fellow students have written about issues.
Great. Does the program have a preferred cloud provider like AWS? And when using that for a course, whatever the cloud provider solution is, do you require individual students to subscribe to those services, or is there a license or an access available as part of the course fees?
I don't know. Bobby, do you know about that?
So I'm very
if there's
sorry.
Any cloud services needed? The question was, do we need access to AWS or anything like that in terms of cloud services for the program? As far as I know, it's all, would it all be installed on their own laptop in terms of R and Python instances?
Randall, I'm hoping that you can be the expert on that one, but you're muted.
Sorry, someone's at our door. We have a watchdog, so apologies for the barking.
I think we'll have to take that one off and say we can answer that by email.
Yeah, I think so.
You make a note of that one. We'll get back to you guys on that one.
We're seeing quite a few questions about financial aid and what finances look like. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about scholarships or funding, things like that.
I don't believe there are any for the Coursera version of the course.
So yeah, so students are not, this program is not eligible for U.S. federal financial aid. However, there are some private scholarship and loan opportunities available. That we'll be publishing that on our degree page on Coursera. And then there may be also some tax credits for national students, and then some employer reimbursement programs. But that's something that you would need to look into with your employer. The cost per program is per course is $667 per course, though. I've seen that question come up a few times in the chat. And
then is the cost of proctoring exams included in that? And how do those proctored exams work when they're attached to a?
I'm sorry, Jennifer, can you repeat the question?
Sorry, I was just wondering if the cost of the proctored exams is included in that $667 cost that you mentioned.
Great question. It is currently included in the cost of the tuition. It is rolled in.
Great. I think maybe just a couple more questions before we run out of time. I want to be mindful of people's schedules. So just to confirm, students currently can take the HPC course and the describing data course for not for credit. And then if they eventually get accepted into the program, those can transfer to the credited courses. Is that correct? Even if it's in a different Coursera term?
That is correct.
Great.
And by the way,
go ahead.
the course that I mentioned, the ethical issues in data science, should be ready a couple of months or so before the May time. So that will be at least one more that you can take that definitely is part of this. Randall, do we know for sure which other ones should be available beforehand?
I have high hopes, but I'm not going to commit to anything at the moment and name names.
Okay.
But we should have a few more courses available before then.
This might be the final question, I think. Are there any opportunities for remote participation in campus research labs and possibly publication through this program? How well would the degree set you up for research opportunities?
I think there's probably two different questions there. Like any master's degree, and Jane said this before, this degree certainly could prepare you to enter a PhD program if that's what you would like to do and have research opportunities for that. As far as working remotely with faculty on research, that's not a common thing, but that's something where if somebody has a particular interest, you could certainly reach out to us and we could make linkages to faculty to see if they were interested in pursuing that.
Great. I think we only have 1 minute left, so we can't really dig into any more questions, but I did want to say a big thank you to everyone who showed up and these great questions that you're asking. Please, again, this is not your last chance to learn about this program, so don't hesitate. If you do have questions, do let us know. Again, we're going to have more of these sessions that you're welcome to come. Thank you to our panelists, Bobby, Jane, Randall. It's been, I think, really helpful to learn more about the program. I don't know if there's anything you want to say in closing, Randall, or any of the other panelists.
Oh, I would just say two things. One, we will have, like Jennifer said, additional information sessions. The next one is scheduled for, or we're looking to schedule for the last week of February, and then we'll have another one towards the end of March as well. But also want to give a big thanks to Jennifer and Jenny, who have been managing all of these questions and have done so seamlessly. So thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. I hope to see you in class.